Matthew was on his way back from school when he realized his school fees were missing. He had carefully placed the money in his pocket, but somehow it had fallen out without him noticing. As he walked under the scorching sun, tears streamed down his cheeks. He was crying so hard that people passing by glanced at him, but no one stopped to help. Nearby, a woman sat at a roadside stall selling tomatoes and peppers. She looked up and saw the boy weeping. Her heart filled with compassion. She stood up quickly and approached him. "My child, why are you crying like this?" she asked softly. Matthew wiped his face with the back of his hand, sniffled, and replied, "Mama, I lost my school fees. I don't know how. I've searched everywhere, but I can't find it." The woman stepped closer and said gently, "Calm down, my son. Tell me what happened. By the way, my name is Madam Patricia." Matthew began to explain. "I live with my father and stepmother. My father lost his job months ago, so my stepmother now feeds us. She gave me this money to pay my school fees and told me not to come back without the receipt. If I do, she'll beat me and maybe even send my father away." Patricia's heart ached. She herself didn't have much, just a poor widow trying to survive each day by selling small baskets of tomatoes. The money she had made that day was all she had left. But when she looked into Matthew's desperate eyes, she didn't hesitate. "How much are the fees?" she asked quietly. 5,000 naira, Matthew replied in a trembling voice. Patricia reached into an old tin box under her stall and pulled out a small bundle of notes. Everything she had earned that day. Slowly, she placed it in Matthew's hand. "Take it," she said with a faint smile. "Go pay your school fees." Matthew's eyes widened in disbelief. "Mom, are you sure?" "Yes, my child," she nodded. "It's all I have, but it's okay. Just promise me you'll be serious in school. Don't follow bad friends. One day, you'll be someone great." Matthew clutched the money tightly, wiped his tears, and whispered, "Thank you, Mama. I promise I'll make you proud. When I become rich, I'll never forget you. I'll find you and help you." Patricia smiled and nodded. "Make sure you remember my name." "I will," Matthew said, his voice full of hope. She gently placed her hand on his head and whispered a prayer. Then she returned to her stall, still hungry, still poor, but at peace. Matthew ran toward the school before the gate closed, and just before he entered, he looked back and whispered, "God bless that woman." He bought a lottery ticket, jotted down the numbers quickly, and walked out. He didn't expect anything. It was just a brief distraction from their troubles. 2 days later, Matthew's father returned to the shop, walking slowly just to check the results. The shop owner looked at the paper, then suddenly shouted, "Wait, sir, this is the winning number." Matthew's father blinked. "What do you mean?" "You've won. You've won the jackpot," the man yelled, jumping in excitement. "You've won 100 million naira." Matthew's father stood frozen. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. 100 what? 100 million, the shop owner repeated. "You're a rich man now." Matthew's father began to tremble. His knees weakened. He sat on the nearest chair, holding his head in his hands. Tears spilled down his face. "God, is this really happening to me?" he cried. Tears of shock, tears of pain, and tears of joy. Everything had changed in a moment. No more hunger, no more shame, no more sleeping on the streets. 15 years passed. Matthew was no longer the small boy who once cried by the roadside after losing his school fees. He had grown into a tall, handsome young man. His voice was deep, his steps were confident, and his heart brimmed with dreams. He was now the only son of a billionaire. After his father won 100 million naira, their lives transformed. They moved into a large home, started a business, and from there, the wealth continued to grow. Matthew didn't waste the opportunity. He studied business at university, then launched his own company. It didn't take long before it became one of the fastest growing in the country. He became known for his brilliant ideas, humble nature, and generous heart. But there was someone Matthew never forgot, the woman who helped him. Every year, on the same date, he would sit quietly in his office and remember the day she gave him her last money. He searched for her many times, but no one knew where she had gone after her market stall was demolished. Still, he never gave up hope. "One day, I will find her," he prayed. I must find her. Patricia chuckled gently. That's how love starts, my daughter. But what if he loves me too? Agatha asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Patricia reached for her hand and held it warmly. Pray, if it is truly from God, it will happen. No man can stop what God has planned. Agatha smiled and wrapped her arms around her mother. Her heart brimmed with hope, like a flower just beginning to bloom. Far away, back at the mansion, Matthew lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling, a soft smile tugged at his lips. There's something special about her, he whispered. Agatha, I think I'm in love. Later, he sat quietly in the garden behind the house, watching the flowers sway in the gentle breeze. His heart was full, yet his mind was restless. He had never felt this way before, not in his travels, business meetings, or at the grandest parties. Agatha. Her name now lived in his heart, haunted his dreams, echoed in his thoughts. He stood up and walked into the living room where Mr. Benson sat sipping tea and reading the newspaper. Dad, Matthew said seriously to MR. Benson looked up. You look troubled. What's going on? Matthew took a breath. I'm in love with Agatha. Mr. Benson smiled knowingly and set his teacup down. I knew it. You knew? Matthew asked, surprised at MR. Benson laughed softly. Of course. I've seen how you look at her, the way you follow her into the kitchen like a puppy. Matthew chuckled, nodding. I love her. I want to marry her. No delays. His father stood and placed a firm hand on his shoulder. You've chosen well. She's respectful, hardworking, intelligent, and beautiful. Who wouldn't want a daughter-in-law like her? Matthew sighed with relief. Thank you, Dad, but I'm afraid. What if she doesn't feel the same? Mr. Benson laughed again. You? Afraid of rejection? I'm serious, Matthew said. She's not like the others. She's real, pure. I don't want to frighten her. If your love is true, speak your heart, his father said. Even if she says no, at least you'll have tried. But she might just surprise you. Matthew nodded slowly. I hope so, Dad. I really hope so. The next day, Agatha returned from visiting her mother. She looked radiant, like someone soaked in love and joy. As she stepped inside, Matthew came to meet her. Welcome back, he said with a warm smile. Thank you, sir, she replied shyly. No more, sir, he said. Just Matthew, she smiled. Okay, Matthew. He paused, then took a breath. Agatha, can we talk? Just 5 minutes. Of course, she said, feeling butterflies flutter in her stomach. He led her to the small garden behind the house. The flowers were in full bloom. The birds chirped softly, and the sky wore a soft orange glow. Agatha, he began, voice trembling slightly. This might sound foolish or surprising, but I can't hold it in anymore. Her heart pounded. I'm in love with you, he said. From the first day I saw you in the kitchen, the way you smiled, the way you cared. You stole my heart, and I don't want it back. She gasped softly. I don't waste time, he continued. Life is short, and I know what I want. I want you. Marry me, Agatha. Please. There was a pause. Silence. Then Agatha stepped closer, eyes glistening. Matthew, she whispered. From the first day I saw you, I fell for you too. But I couldn't say it. Why? He asked gently. She smiled. Because I'm a woman, and it's the man's job to say, I love you first. Matthew laughed, his eyes shining. So all this time you felt the same? She nodded. I just didn't know if you did. He held her hands. With all my heart. Will you marry me? Yes, Matthew, she said. I will. He embraced her, and the garden seemed to dance around them. Inside the house, Mr. Benson smiled at the scene. This is what happens when destiny speaks, he whispered, far away. Patricia knelt in prayer. Lord, wherever my daughter is, let her be happy. She had no idea her daughter was already walking into her answered prayer. A few days later, Matthew said to Agatha, I want to meet your mother. I want to thank her for raising a woman like you. She'll be happy to meet you, Agatha replied. That Saturday, they dressed simply but neatly and headed for Patricia's house. You nervous? Agatha teased, holding his hand. A little, he admitted. Never met someone's mom as a fiancé before. They arrived at the humble home and stepped inside. The place smelled warm and familiar. Is your mom in? Matthew asked. She stepped out to buy something. She'll be back soon. Minutes later, the door opened. Patricia walked in, carrying a black nylon bag. Her tired face lit up. My daughter, you didn't tell me you were coming today. Agatha hugged her. I wanted to surprise you, Mama. I brought someone. Patricia turned and saw Matthew. Good afternoon, Ma, he greeted, bowing slightly. Good afternoon, my son, she replied, eyes scanning his face. You didn't tell me your guest was this fine, she laughed, but as she looked at him, something stirred in Matthew. A memory, a voice, a face. Ma, your name, is it Patricia? Yes. Do we know each other? You may not remember me, Matthew said, voice quivering. Years ago, I was a small boy. I had lost my school fees and was crying by the roadside. You were selling tomatoes. You listened to me. You gave me 5,000 Nigerian nairas, your last money, and told me to be serious with school. You prayed for me. Patricia gasped. You said your name was Patricia, and I never forgot it. Her mouth opened slightly. Wait, you're that boy? Matthew nodded. Yes, Ma. You saved me. He knelt gently before her. You gave me hope when I had nothing. That one act changed my life. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. God, you mean that was you? Yes, he said, and now I'm back, in love with your daughter. Agatha covered her mouth in shock. Mama, I didn't know. Patricia trembled. See how God works. You helped a crying boy, and he returned as a man with love. Matthew took her hands. Now I want to bless you like you once blessed me. I want to marry your daughter. I want to take care of you both. This is not just love, it's destiny. Patricia wept. God, you are too faithful. The next day, Matthew called Agatha and Patricia outside. A car arrived, and 4 men carried bags of rice, food items, pots, and 2 wrappers. What's this? Patricia asked, stunned. Matthew smiled. This is just the beginning, Mama. She received a brown envelope, and inside, a 10 million Nigerian nairas check. For you, Matthew said, for everything you lost for the rent unpaid, for your kindness to a stranger. Patricia wept silently. And one more thing. He handed her a set of house keys and documents. A 3-bedroom house, fully furnished. In your name. You'll never pay rent again. Patricia dropped to her knees. God, you remembered me. A few weeks later, Matthew and Agatha had a beautiful garden wedding. Patricia wore her new wrapper, her skin glowing with joy, from a roadside tomato seller to a proud mother of the bride. God had lifted her as they danced. Matthew leaned close to Agatha. I told you I don't waste time. She smiled. And I told you I loved you from the start. He looked at Patricia dancing joyfully and whispered, she gave me her last. Now I've given her my best. Months later, Agatha gave birth to healthy twin boys. The house overflowed with J-O-Y-M-R. Benson carried one child proudly. Patricia held the other, tears in her eyes. My daughter, God has doubled your blessings. Matthew hugged Agatha. You've made me the happiest man alive. And they all lived happily ever after.